Hello and welcome to another vector video, and in this video we will be looking at some vector geometry, and this starts to link in to your GCSE style questions that you'll be given in your exams. So here we've got a rectangle, and you can see on our rectangle we've got two vectors. We've got vector A, which goes from O to A, and we've got vector B, which goes from O to B. Now what I want you to think about is how could we write the vector that starts at A and finishes at O? So we know to go from O to A is just A. To go in the opposite direction, remember when we go in the opposite direction, we just take the negative of that vector. Okay, so if we write this down, so if we wanted to write down our vector AO, so we're starting at A and finishing at O, well, we just take the negative of this vector. So it would be negative A, just like that. Now, the really cool thing about vectors, or I find it quite cool anyway, is that to go from A to O, we don't need to go straight down. Okay, we did, because it's obviously the easiest way to get from A to O, but we could go all around the outside of our rectangle from A to O, and we would still be left with our vector of negative A. And let me just prove that to you. So let's go on the journey from A to O again. So let's write this down. So the vector AO. But instead of going straight down, I'm going to go all around the outside of our rectangle. So the first journey I'm going to take, so I always like to think of them as journeys or pathways, is to go from A to C. So we're going to go on this pathway. So let's write down what this vector is. Well, this vector is exactly the same as this vector. So we would call this vector B. And then we're going to add on this vector here. So from C to B, and it's in this direction. So what is this vector? Well, this time, if we compare it to this vector over here, it's exactly the same as A, but it's in the opposite direction. That would be negative A. So if we add on negative A, or just subtract A, and remember I should underline these to show that they're vectors. And then finally, to get to my destination, I need to go from B to O. So I need to go in this direction over here. Now, what is this vector? Well, again, it's the opposite of vector B, so that would be negative B. So if we add on negative B, or just subtract B, then that is my journey. And you might be thinking, well, these are clearly different, but no, they are the same. I just need to do a bit of simplification. So we've got B minus B, well, those two B's just cancel out, and all I'm left with is negative A. So notice I have exactly the same vector. I went on a different journey, but my vector is the same. So the key message here is it doesn't matter what journey you take, as long as your start and end points are the same, your vector will also be the same. Now you might be wondering, why on earth would I go all the way around the outside when I can just go straight down? It's obviously a lot quicker. And the reason why you might have to go in this direction is that this pathway, this road, might be blocked off. Okay, and what I mean by that is you might not know what this vector is. We were told that it was A, but it might not be given, so you might have to take a different journey. So I'm going to go through another example now, and this time we've got a trapezium, and it says write down the vector BC in terms of A and B. So the first thing to do is identify what our start and end points are. So we're starting at B, so we're starting down here, and we're finishing at C. Now notice, we can't go directly from B to C because we don't know what this vector is. This road is blocked off. We're going to have to take a detour. So we're going to have to go all the way around the outside of our trapezium to get to C. So let's write this down. We want to write down what vector BC is. So the first leg of our journey, we're going to go from B to O. So that is vector BO. And I can see why that is amusing. And then our second leg, we're going to add on this leg of our journey. So from O to A. So that's vector OA. And then finally, we're going to add on this leg, which is from A to C. That's vector AC. Now, so far I've written down all of these vectors in terms of their endpoints, but we know what they all are. We're told what they all are, so we can just write them in. So vector BO, well, that's going to be the negative of this vector because it's in the opposite direction. So that would be negative B. And then we're going to add on this vector, which is vector A. I'm going to add on vector A. And then finally, we're going to add on this vector, which is 2b. So we're going to add on 2 lots of vector b. And we can simplify this. We've got negative 1b plus 2b. Well, that's just 1b, or just b. and then plus a. So that is our answer, b plus a, or you could write a plus b. The order doesn't matter, but that is our final answer. Okay, I've got one more question to go through, and this time I encourage you to pause the video and see if you can solve it yourself. So here we've got another trapezium, and it says write down the vector CA in terms of A and B. So again, the very first thing to do is identify your start and end points. So we're starting at C and we're going to A. Now, just like before, we don't know what this vector is. This path is blocked, so we're going to have to take another detour, maybe around the countryside this time. So we're going to have to go all the way around the outside. So vector CA is what we're trying to work out. So the first route we're going to take is from C to B. So that would be vector CB. And then we're going to add on this vector from B to O. So we've got another vector BO again. And then finally, we're going to go from O to A. So that would be vector OA. And just like before, we know what all of these vectors are. So I've written them using their endpoints first, but we've been given the labels, so we can just add these in. So vector CB, that's the opposite direction to this vector. So it's going to be negative 5b, oh sorry, negative 5a, I should say, negative 5a. And then we're going to add on this vector. So that's the opposite of the vector that we've been given. So that's negative 2b, so minus 2b. And finally, we're going from O to A, so that is just 4a. So plus 4a. Okay, so finally, let's just clean this up a bit. So we've got negative 5a plus 4a. Well, that's negative 1a, or just negative a. And then we've got negative 2b. So that is our final answer, negative a minus 2b. So hopefully you enjoyed that introduction to vector geometry. And the key take-home message from this is that you can only take known pathways. Okay, so to go from your start point to your end destination, okay, it doesn't matter the journey you take as long as you take pathways where you've been given what the vectors are. So we're going to get some more practice with this in the next video because it is a lot of fun. So hopefully you will join me then. Take care.